Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. It's the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate, and it does it with Barb Schlinker, the host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, we're hearing a lot in the news about the National Association of Realtors lawsuit, settlement for price fixing and antitrust violations. That's a mouthful, and that's a lot of technical stuff. So break it down for us, Barb. How will that affect the real estate commissions going forward?
Well, Richard, the way this came about was back in the day before everything was online and they had the paper MLS books. They look like a white phone book, right? At that time, the public didn't know what homes were available. You didn't have access to that data. So the theory was, okay, if I list my house and then I share some of the commission with the agent that brings the buyer, it would provide more buyer opportunity to come take a look at the house. That way the seller could sell quickly or for more money. So that's a theory. So initially when it started, the seller paid the commission and everybody worked for the seller. But back when I started in the industry back in the 90s, they kind of came up with these, buyer agency things where they said, okay, well, I'm working for the buyer and you're working for the seller. And so the way the commission is divided up, it depends, it is negotiable. But once everything went online, it was published through the multiple listing service, which is basically a giant database of homes for sale with pictures, right? And it says in the agent version of it that we're going to share this much of the commission. Okay. Usually in this market, it was 50-50. Denver has always been a little less than 50-50 to the buyer's agent. That was kind of customary. And so what was customary became embedded into some of these big box brokerages training documents. They would basically say, hey, if you don't offer so much commission, the agents are going to boycott your listing. And you know what? That is true to this day. I just took over a listing. We've got it closing this month where the other agent was offering a very small amount of commission for that home. And it sat on the market, didn't sell, didn't sell. So, why not? Well, pricing was an issue. It wasn't marketing. The marketing was great. There was no problem there. But how much is being offered? So the buyers are somewhat influenced by the agents that they're with when they go out and take a look at homes. The agent can either make nonverbal communication or verbal communication and say, oh, I think you should get this home, or oh, this home is going to hurt you for resale because I know X, right? So they do absolutely influence the buyer's decision. And the buyer believes that these agents are experts, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. The facts are 87% of licensed real estate agents get out of the industry every 5 years. Did you know that, Richard?
That is amazing. And that is very disheartening because you don't really know when you're searching for somebody whether that is somebody is right on the verge of calling it a day because they can't make a go of it.
That's right. And the other fact that's kind of shocking is if you look at all these big box brokerages, I'm not going to name them, but a majority of their agents sell four or less homes a year. Four, okay? So if the average commission say is 10,000 or 15,000, you could probably make more at Walmart, to be honest with you, and you don't have the uncertainty of not getting a paycheck. So if they're only selling four homes, how much of an expert are they really? What do they know about the market? What do they know about what's resale value or what's a good deal or what's not a good deal? And I've seen agents blow up deals in front of buyers. We see them on camera where they go, oh, it's not worth that much. That's what they tell the buyer. And they encourage the buyer to make a low offer. And then the next thing you know, there's a competing offer that comes in and the buyer doesn't get the house. I see that a lot. And it's unfortunate, but it's just It's one of those industries where there is no job description, there is no how-to, there's no training, there's no, well, there is some training. Most of it's how to keep the broker out of lawsuits, like how to fill out a contract, that kind of thing. But there's not training on the stuff, or at least not enough training on things that you would think the agent knows how to do, like how to promote the listing, how to handle objections when a buyer puts up an objection, how to negotiate, how to close, how to provide great service, how to provide good information, contract to closing. I was just with my hairdresser yesterday. We were talking about the buyer experience. And she was saying, because I was explaining to her kind of how we do it. And she goes, I never got any of that. I never had any idea. We were talking about the loan approval. And so what happens with buyers is they call a lender. They're told, okay, this is how we do it. I get to get pre-approved. Awesome. I'm pre-approved. Now I get a contract on a house. Awesome. I'm going to buy a house. So I do an inspection. We have a little negotiations there. And then there's this 2 to 3 week period where nothing's going on. And then at the last minute, the lender asks for all these documents back. I need this, I need that. She goes, I already gave you that. Why am I giving this again? No, I need this and I need that. And I explained to her, I said, the reason that happens is the underwriter never looked at their file until the very last minute after they've completed the appraisal and everything's ready to go and just sign off. And then they ask for more stuff and they make the buyer think that they're not going to get the loan and freak them out at the last minute. And then the agent shows up at closing to do the walkthrough to collect their check. And they're like, wow, just what happened? And that was her experience. That was her experience. She saw her buyer's agent after the closing stand outside in front of their fancy cars with a check in her hand, and her husband gives her a big hug and they drove off into the sunset. It's pathetic. And that's the kind of behavior, because there's no training and there's no standardization. Too many agents are all about the money and not about really providing great service to their clients. So the sellers got wind of this. They're like, hold on a second. I'm paying the whole commission, right? And yet the buyer's agent is coming at me with talking smack about the house, threatening to sue. I just had that happen a few weeks ago. Some of these things the buyer doesn't even know what's going on. Threatening to pull out of the deal if we don't get more stuff. It's a fight. It's a battle all the way to the finish line. And so these sellers said, wait a minute, I'm paying their fee too. It's almost like being sued and having to pay the plaintiff's attorney. And so it wasn't one lawsuit. It was 3 or 4 or 5. And there was more and more going on because the attorneys are like, this is a cash cow, baby. I can go get a class action lawsuit, make all this money and get back the commission that the seller had to pay to the buyer's agent who was working against the seller. And over again, the sellers won these lawsuits, right? And these agencies, a lot of these big box brokerages that had it in their doctrine that said, if you don't offer so much commission, which is price fixing, agents aren't going to show your house. They're going to blackball your home. They're going to go around you because of the amount of commission that's offered, because a lot of agents are all about the money and not about providing lifetime services for their customers. So that's what happened. And there was a settlement because it was starting, I think the last one lawsuit was $1.8 billion that these companies had to pay. And so the National Association of Realtors came out and said, okay, fine. We're no longer going to publish commission in our listing service. And just so you know, that commission that was offered, 100% non-negotiable. Once it inks in the MLS for the agents to see, there's no negotiations that go on. If the listing broker doesn't make sure that the selling broker gets that amount of commission, they could take that agent to mediation and they will lose, right? Because that's what was published. It's non-negotiable. Even if the buyer is an agent and says, I don't want a commission, I just want to buy the house for me. They could still take the agent to arbitration and get their commission. That's how locked in it became. And on top of that, their idea last year was, oh, we're just going to publish it. We'll make it available so that the buyers don't think they're getting steered. They'll know if this agent's offering this commission and this agent's offering that commission. They will know because of what's publicly available that they're not getting steered one way or the other. So that didn't work out for them. And so what ended up happening was they had this huge, massive settlement. And so we're going to talk about the results of that settlement and what's going to happen going forward. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to change the industry. I think there's going to be more than 87% of agents getting out of the business because they're just not, the industry is awful at training them, teaching them how to grow the business, teaching them how to market, negotiate, close, and provide great services so that they can grow the business. They just don't do that. So I think going forward, life is going to change and only the good agents are going to survive. So when we come back, we're going to be discussing exactly what the settlement is and how people that are selling or buying can actually negotiate their fee, which is something they should consider doing. A lot of people are afraid to ask. You know, we live in a society where there is no negotiations. You go to the car dealership and it's the sticker price. You go to the Walmart or whatever, the price is the price, right? I lived in foreign countries. You can negotiate all the time. It was a lot of fun. So life is going to change. I'm so excited about it. If you would like to talk to us about selling your home, it's part of what we do. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. It's part of what we do is we help our sellers get the most money so they know with certainty going into the game exactly what they're going to put in their pocket. Richard?
Barb, tell us a little bit more about this settlement and how you think things are going to change in real estate.
Well, there are two things that are going to change. One is there's not going to be any commission offered through the MLS. Guess what? The buyer's agents are going to have to negotiate their fee. And also, the buyer's agents are not going to be allowed to show a home unless they have a written agreement with their buyer prior to showing the home that that probably articulates how they're going to get paid. Now, they're going to assume that the seller's going to pay, but they can't guarantee that. Right? So then they're going to have to ask the buyer to pay. And then the buyer's going to be asking the question, so what do I get for that? When I explain this to my brother, he goes, does that mean I have to pay to see a house? I said, no, only if you buy the house, you have to pay. But anyway, so it's going to change. It's going to put our industry upside down for a while. It goes into effect in less than 1 month. The date is August 17th. I'm very excited because it's going to turn agents into negotiators, and they're going to have to learn how to articulate their value and what they do for their fee. And at the same time, it's going to open the door for the seller to negotiate how much they're going to pay the buyer's agent that brings them the buyer. And sometimes there's some sellers, I've asked them, all right, this is my fee. How much you want to pay the agent that brings the buyer? A lot of them say nothing. Right? That could happen. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens going forward. I'm so excited about it because, you know, a lot of times the buyer's agents don't do anything. I recently had a fight with an agent because he didn't want to be bothered to go to his buyer's inspection. I'm like, dude, you spent 2 hours already. You're going to spend 3 more at the inspection and 1 more at closing. And you don't want to spend 3 hours because you say it's a waste of your time, yet you're going to make over $20,000. I don't get it. And now buyers are going to become aware of that, and they are absolutely going to be able to negotiate more. So I think it's good for consumers more than anything else. So if you are thinking of making a move, there's no mystery with us. We're going to show you everything. What are all of our expenses, what we do, our market expertise. We even show up with offers for you. So if you are thinking of moving, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or call us at 719-301-3900. Richard?
Barb Schlinker is the only agent I recommend when you're thinking of making a move. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday, 11 o'clock, right after Kudlow. And if you're thinking of making that move, take my word for it. Call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, you don't want to miss this. Barb's going to talk about whether agents will stretch the truth a little bit in order to get you to sign. You don't want to miss that.